privilege of introducing Brady tonight. Brady is a new friend of me, but has quickly become somebody that's really important in my life. He's taught me invaluable lessons and just been a role model in having an optimistic outlook on life. A little bit more about Brady. He's a TEDx motivational speaker, two-time author, and cross-country ultra runner, as if he ran across the entire United States. He ran 3,311 miles across the United States, and just 1 year prior, he ran his first ever half marathon in November of 2018. And crazy enough, Brady hated running as a kid, which, if you can imagine, that's pretty crazy. He co-founded Sunny Co Clothing while studying at the University of Arizona, and a viral swimsuit giveaway in May of 2017 led to the company receiving 50,000 orders in 28 minutes, which is also really crazy. And before his TEDx debut at the University of Purdue recently, he applied to 60 TEDx events and was only accepted to that one event. And on average, speakers need to apply to 77 events before getting accepted. So that just shows a little bit about Brady's persistence and who he is as a person, which is really inspiring to me and I'm sure to others. And tonight, Brady's sharing a bit about his story and how, in the face of struggles, leaning on others for support and being able to share your story can go really far and just not only inspire others, but also inspire yourself. And I'm just really proud to be Brady's friend and to learn about him every day. And I also want to thank you all for coming. I see a lot of familiar faces, but also a lot of new faces, so I'm really grateful to be a part of such an important thing to me and something I'm really passionate about. So I hope you enjoy, and welcome, Brady.
Thank you. Hopefully the mic works up here. I didn't really test it out, but we'll see. Hello? Yeah? So I was just, a week and a half ago, I was promoting my book at the Bridge Run, and I was talking to hundreds and hundreds of people, so my voice was kind of gone from that. And then this last week, I went out to last weekend, the Boston Marathon. Just got back from Boston today. So my voice is a little gone, so I'm really glad this mic works. I want to start us off today, just kind of setting some intention for this talk. Just going to say a quick prayer here. Hold on one sec. God, I pray that today, everyone in here, we all have struggles. We all deal with mental health issues, whether it's personally or we know someone who does. And also, we've all been impacted by alcohol, whether it's ourselves or someone we know in our family. And I just pray that tonight we can find wisdom and peace and just learn how to be there for each other in this very changing world. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so, I had a teacher in college, Jim McLean, and he always told me, this was probably the best piece of advice he gave me. He said, Brady, you always want to under-promise and then over-deliver. So with that being said, if your expectations were super high for this talk, just lower them right now, okay? So while I was in Boston, and then I'll get into the talk, it was just, as you could imagine, so much just beautiful energy near the finish line, people accomplishing this dream that they've been working at for years and years. And I was tired just from standing in the sun all day. And when I got back to the hotel last night, I was looking out the window, and I'm looking out the window, looking down on the street, and it was kind of funny because, runners, we know this, but there'd be a family, maybe 4 people walking down the street, and I could just tell who the runner was. They're just like limping, and everyone else is walking fine. So raise of hands, tonight's talk is about alcohol and mental health. Raise of hands if you or someone you know has been very much impacted by alcohol or mental health. Right, so basically all of us. So it's a bit personal. My sister is here. Carly, raise your hand. Yeah, this talk is very personal, so I'm very blessed to be able to share all this with you. But my aunt, Chrissy, actually, that was one of the causes of her death was alcohol. I had a good friend in college commit suicide as well. So these topics, it's a privilege to be able to talk about these things because I've been very much impacted by them, and I just hope that we can all learn how to better approach these things, and yeah. So, anyways, I will talk about my upbringing with alcohol. So. Yeah, I probably had my first drink of alcohol when I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. I remember it was me and my friend. I won't say his name for privacy, but we did it in like my bathroom and we were hiding it, and I think it was like Miller Lite. It tasted really bad, and yeah, then it just kind of seemed like something I would do in high school. It was very common. Lots of people were doing it, and I think in high school, I thought I was doing it a lot. I thought I was drinking a lot, but I think compared to other high schools and friends at other schools, I just thought, well, I'm not being as bad as some of those other kids are doing some other things that they're all doing. So I didn't really think it was that bad. And then I went to the University of Arizona, which some people call University of Alcoholics, the Harvard of drinking. And yeah, I would say that that I really started to drink a lot. It was the culture out there, to get drunk a lot of the time, and just try to pass your classes. That was not the priority. It was just like have fun, social first, and then go to class and try to succeed. I was definitely the one who tried to be the life of the party, and I often was. And I had the tank top, I had the Cabo headband. I was the party guy, and everyone really liked that, so they wanted to see that out of me. And I was a big people pleaser, and I think it took a long time to realize that that's what I was doing. Deep down, I don't think I really wanted to drink a lot, but I just kind of went into that role, and that was who I was in college. So and this kind of goes into mental health. I didn't ever feel depressed growing up. I had a very blessed and definitely a very fortunate childhood where, maybe like the worst thing that happened to me was getting cut from my baseball team after, being with the same group of guys for years. That was something really hard for me, but like, come on, that's incredible that's what I was dealing with. And I was always just happy. I was always really just, I didn't even know what depression was. And my freshman year of college, I'll never forget, I was in my dorm room, and it had maybe been like a week of just feeling like just all this weight on me, like I couldn't even go to class. I felt so depressed and sad, and I just flew home. I didn't even tell my parents I was coming. I didn't know what else to do. I was like, I'm really depressed. I'm gonna go home. And so that was my first experience with depression. And my parents did what they could to try and help me in that situation. and I immediately got, put on antidepressants, and yeah, that was a lot for me, because I didn't know what was happening, and it was just like, okay, this is gonna help you now, and when there was just a lot going on at that time, and there was a kid at my college who actually, a night of drinking, he fell off of a roof, and he unfortunately died that night. And I was up, it was probably 3 a.m., and I was studying, of all things, up until 3 a.m., and I actually heard the thud and heard his friends screaming. And so there was just a lot going on at this time of all of a sudden feeling depression. And, I think the first time I went to a campus therapist, it was clear that I didn't know what was going on, but she also couldn't tell me what was going on. So that was kind of my first kind of dealing with mental health, my first experience. Drinking, I don't think I was able at that time to see what drinking's role was in all of that. And so the drinking didn't stop. I kept drinking a lot. And there were a lot of experiences that deep down I knew. I felt guilty. I felt a lot of shame. But at this time in my life, I would just kind of laugh everything off. And, I think I maybe thought I was invincible at this time. And, I still remember my dad sent me a text one day and was like, Brady, I don't know if it was from social media or how he could catch on. Maybe it was just when we were talking, I kept telling him how I'm going to all these parties, and he was like, the Super Bowl's coming up, like, I think you should just stop drinking for a while. And I remember I made a big joke out of that, like, oh yeah, like my dad knows what's going on, and he knows what's best. I was just kind of in my own world, I think. And alcohol can definitely do that to us. So I laugh when things get uncomfortable and awkward. So when I was writing out the outline for this talk on the plane today, I started to think of this and started crying because it still to this day is like a very shameful experience. So one morning, I woke up in the hospital, and not a lot of people know this, but I had been drinking too much the night before, and I got alcohol poisoning and woke up in the hospital, and just not a good feeling. You don't feel good about yourself, and again, deep down, I think I knew I could be doing better, but to be there and to be just like confused of like where you are, not a good feeling. And I was actually talking with my friend today about it, and he mentioned to me that next night I went out and I went drinking. So it just goes to show that alcohol can definitely make you think a certain way, and even when it, to the outside, to everyone else, it seems clear you should, okay, turn around, I'm going the wrong way, that you can just keep going that way. I had a lot of blackouts, and I think held a lot of shame and guilt about that. That's like, I would drink and not know even that I left the party. It would be at like the pregame, and people would be like, we went to this whole party, and then you're out for hours, and I would not recall a single thing from that night. So I held a lot of shame with those experiences as well. Probably one of the best things that did happen to me after college was I started to get really bad hangovers. So God bless hangovers. Because hangovers, I would feel bad. I would drink a lot, feel bad, and then start complaining. And one of my best friends, he gave me this piece of advice a long time ago, but he said, if you're going to complain about something, do something about it or stop complaining. And I kept complaining, I kept drinking, I kept getting hungover, and I don't know when it switched, but finally I think I started to look for healthier alternatives. So how many of you have heard my running story before? Raise of hands. Thank you. Oh no. Oops, one sec. Okay, I think we're low on battery. I'll have to be loud. I'm glad, Luke, that you've heard my story. That would be bad if you hadn't. So I gave you all a running book. So like today, I'm not going to go all into the running stuff, but I will give you a little taste of how the running and alcohol kind of came together. So I was going through a lot of depression, probably like the worst part of the depression in 2018, towards the end of 2018. And my roommate, Taylor, he came into my room one morning and he tried to get me to go to a run club. And I hated running my whole life, maybe had only done a Thanksgiving 5K. And so running did not seem very attractive to me at that point. And I probably first tried to get him to get out of my room, but then I finally went with him to that run club, and I was hungover. I remember I was really hungover that morning, and going outside, running with people, getting something accomplished that morning. I was still probably a little hungover, but I felt like, okay, I'm doing something good for my life. And it, again, like I had this, like partying and drinking, that was a part of my lifestyle. Running wasn't really a part of my lifestyle yet. So that stayed, in my life. But then as I started going to the run club more and more, running started to kind of take priority over alcohol and partying. And I'll never forget, like, this was a big transition for me. I didn't want to miss run club on Saturday morning, so the Friday nights I stopped drinking as much, I stopped going out as much, and running started to kind of, I guess, take the lead if it was a race. And running, when I run, I truly feel like anything is possible. And when I drink, I've always felt like I'm running away from what is possible for me. So that's kind of how those paths, I guess, converged there. So a year, it's kind of wild to think about the dates of it, but a year, I joined the run club August 2018. A year and a few months later, I finished a 3,311 mile run across the country. And I actually, on that run, maybe drank, I don't know, five times. And I mean, you gotta keep in mind, in college, when I would drink, it would be 10 or more drinks a night. I remember they gave us a survey in college, and it was anonymous, so you wouldn't get in trouble or they wouldn't send it to anyone. I think it was probably the health department wanting to know what was really going on. And they would say, like, they give you some range, like 2 to 4 drinks, 5 to 7 drinks, 8 to 10 drinks. And I was literally going to like the most every time, or even like Like they don't even have my number on here. So again, it's so wild how running, at least for me, changed my perspective on running. Makes me feel good. I want to incorporate more things in my life that make me feel good. And since then, it's not just running. Like if I wasn't able to run for the rest of my life, I'm cool with that. It's not an addiction anymore. I think at one point it kind of did get to an addiction a little bit. But it's running brings me clarity, brings me peace. I'm outdoors. I think I'm partly my best self when I'm running. And it goes into many aspects of my life. When I'm doing that, I want my nutrition to be better. This isn't just, I think, I think so much of the time we're drinking or we're using alcohol or drugs or whatever. It's a vice. It's an escape from some pain or sadness that we just don't want to feel. So it could be you eating, or it can come out in lots of ways, gambling, whatever. So this isn't just alcohol. This is just me sharing my experience with it. I think I used alcohol definitely as an escape, and as just trying to be happy. I think I was losing that, and for dealing with depression, probably over the last 10 years, points a lot more than other years. I actually, and I didn't really announce it, but my relationship went really unhealthy with alcohol, to trying to get rid of it, to that not working, to actually getting to a good place with it. But as of recently, I'll have one drink and the next morning get a headache or feel more depressed. So that's its effect on me now. And I've only had 2 drinks this year, and I'm very proud of that, because I just don't have that attachment I used to have with it. And I also think I'm a lot more secure in my own self, where I can be at a party and I don't need to, I don't need it to talk to somebody or, feel a certain way. I find a lot of joy in nights that I don't do that. And for people that do, I am I have nothing against that at all. I just think knowing what your personal relationship is with it, I think that's important, because deep down if, hey, this is, I use this as a crutch, or I use this anytime life starts to get a little tough. I kind of look at life now as life is going to get tough. There's always going to be roadblocks, and I'm not going to feel good all the time, but if I can avoid a little pitfall that will kind of keep me in my pain a little bit longer than I need to be, or a little bit longer in my sadness, I'm going to try to avoid that. So while I'm not sharing a lot about the USA Run today, I do want to share one of the chapters from my new book. It's called "We Can't Do It Alone." So this chapter is very important to me, because I think our culture today, I thought of this, what's that? My mouth gets really dry when I do public speaking. I thought of this video. I saw it maybe a few years ago, but it's Snoop Dogg, and he's getting the Hollywood Walk of Fame star, and they're interviewing him, and he just keeps talking about how, and keep in mind, I'm a Snoop Dogg fan, all right? I love his music, all that. That's my disclaimer, but it's all about how I did this. So I want to thank myself. I want to thank myself. I want to thank myself. And I'm gonna be bold about my opinion. I just don't think that's why we're here. I think I think while you can find yourself in a pit and get out of it, you have this like pride and I'm proud and all that, but I really think the purpose is to pass the torch on to someone else. And I truly could not be up here and say I've done this alone. I actually think I couldn't do any of these things without the people in my life that helped me through challenging times. I'll list off a few of those people. There was one woman named Justine, and Justine, I met her the beginning of 2019, and so this was prior to me deciding to run across the country. And a couple months later, I was, like I've mentioned, I was very depressed, and I remember I was very vulnerable and being vulnerable. I was in like the fetal position in my bathtub and just like feeling all types of sadness. And I had a conversation with her that night. She's a therapist. And I don't know the exact things we talked about, but I know when the talk was done, I felt like a weight off of my shoulders. I believe she touched on the fact that we all are a gift to this world. And when we come into this world, you know, you could have a nephew or a niece and you're in the hospital with them and immediately like the baby's born and that's love. You know, you are a gift to this world. And along the way, we just lose sight of that. And that next morning, I'm not kidding you, this is how God works. That next morning, I wrote in my journal to run across the country. So I really believe like we all have a light to shine. And there's a quote I love, and it's in my new book. When we shine our own light, we unconsciously give permission to other people to do the same. And my family, I had my sister Carly come out and visit me in was it Arizona? In Arizona, with my other sister Caitlin. I had my brother also come visit me. No, we were in Roswell, New Mexico. That's right. And Jimmy, he came to visit me in Arizona. My parents, my mom and dad visited me. I want to say it was Virginia the first time they came out, and it was 27 days in, and I was thinking maybe they'll come towards the end or halfway, so I was like shook. Like there's a video I posted, and I'm literally like, there's a ghost in my bed. They were like hiding under the covers in the RV, and you know, it was just, I've been so blessed to have people like that. And you know, if you don't have a therapist, you don't have family, the last one I'm going to say is strangers. I had so much love from people I did not know on that trip across America. I talk about it in the book, but there was a couple in West Virginia. They invited me over and they cooked me breakfast one morning. That's just like special, you know, you're running through a town and someone's like, hey, I'm going to cook you eggs and bacon. And it's like, it's this whole thing, you know, it's a community. There was a woman, Wilma, that sent me a bracelet that said hope, and seems very simple, but I would like look at that every single day, like, gotta keep the hope out here, you know? That really helped me. I was running through California at a call box. There was trail mix just left there for the ultra runner. So, you know, in a sense, it very much, this whole run and experience, it restored, you know, you hear it all the time, but like this restored my faith in humanity, you know? That experience really did that for me because I kind of got swept up by like the news cycle and media, and you know, it tends to be the car accidents and the people dying, and they're not sharing experiences like this. And again, these people were not Democrats, not Republicans. They just wanted to help. And I mean, like people running up to me and just handing me money without even knowing like what charity I was representing. I was like, this is crazy, you know? So that's strangers. So again, you know, Therapy, I think, is huge. Family, friends, but sometimes it's strangers that can help you through something. You know what? I wrote a Mother Teresa quote, and I actually didn't even write it in, so I probably will butcher it. I heard this a couple days ago, but it goes somewhat like this. I'm paraphrasing, but it's I can do, or I'm probably going to get this wrong, so I'm just going to start off. It's like, I can do what you can't do. You can do what I can't do. Imagine what we can do together. I think that is, again, like, I understand the natural feeling when we overcome something to be like, yes, I did this, right? But I think when we can take that the next step, one step further, and turn it into helping someone else going through that, being someone that can look up and say, oh, wow, I was struggling with depression, but now I'm watching this guy up here talking about it, and man, that's pretty cool to know someone else was able to find ways to continue to move on in his life through something like that. I've actually gone to 2 AA meetings to support some good friends of mine recently, and so I've learned a bit about it. I'm still no expert, but the last step is all about helping someone else overcome their battle with alcohol, and that's the last step. So again, I think that is kind of what we're meant to do here. I think. I don't know. I'm no expert. We are here, not me, not you, but we. I'm going to end this talk with a story from the Boston Marathon. It's still very relevant in my mind. It was madness there. I mean, madness. I probably saw. I'm bad with numbers, and I don't know if there's 500 people in this room or 50. I'm terrible with numbers. It was maybe 300 plus police, probably more. Maybe 1,000 volunteers. The media, the fans just there. There would be a full family just rooting on one person, and they all have posters. Just everyone rallying together, and it's the Boston Strong after everything they've gone through in the last decade, and you could just feel how it was not about the I, it was about the we, and you would probably think, so I'm standing there and we're checking our phones and we're doing the math of no one's ever got under a 2-hour marathon, so they're probably gonna be a little bit past 2 hours. We're doing the math and we're like, okay, they're gonna come in the next 10 minutes, so fans start to get louder and louder and louder, and you have the winner come through and everyone's cheering so loud. And I kid you not, because I stood there for probably 2 more hours after that, seeing lots of other runners come in. And the loudest cheers the whole day, the loudest cheers came in when a runner would be going, and then they'd go over near the fence and stop, maybe they're injured or something was wrong. And the fans weren't cheering hey, you suck, but they started to cheer and get really loud. And then when that runner would keep going and move forward, the crowd went bananas. And I think that was legitimately the loudest the crowd got, not for the winners, but again, passing the torch on, trying to encourage someone else to finish the race. So, again, I'm just like all of you, trying to learn, trying to grow, trying to get better. And in my life, these are my experiences, and that's kind of what I've attached to. So thank you so much. That's all I got. God bless.